Hi everyone, Company Outano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Green Day album, Saviors. California's own Green Day, the biggest punk band to come out of America ever. They are still alive and kicking, and now on their 14th full-length album. And they're at what you could say is an interesting point in their career. The band's golden years in the 90s are long behind them, this incredible commercial peak they hit in the 2000s long behind them, and they are now following up what is widely considered to be their worst album ever, Father of All MFers. A very short record from the band that was filled with all of these half-baked arena rock songs that sound like the kind of thing that would blast over the loudspeakers at a minor league baseball game. Now, the upside to releasing such a terrible album is that your next one is no way going to be as bad or worse. And Saviors passes that very low bar for sure, but not with flying colors. Now, credit where credit is due, there are some highlights on the LP. We have a few solidly written cuts with mid-paced, heavy riffs that see the band going back to kind of an alt-rock sound, a power pop sound, like Dilemma or Bobby Sox, which I might say is actually a little Weezer-esque too. There's also Living in the 20s, which is much faster and peppier, has this classic garage-style riff attached to it, but it is pumped up to the point where it has this, main stage festival punk show appeal to it, complete with a very campy rock solo on the bridge. It has one of the catchiest hooks on the record, and you could essentially take it as this really snarky embrace of this very disappointing decade that we're currently living through. There are a couple of cute throwback moments on the record as well, where the band is giving us some very Ramones-y choruses and riffs, namely on 1981 and Coma City, to an extent as well for the song Look Ma No Brains, which, yes, does bring some blood-pumping rock riffs, but the lyrics read like edgeless pap. I'm crazy, I'm sick, I'm unhinged, I shit the bed, cue Joker you wouldn't get it meme, which leads me to one of my biggest turnoffs on this album, the moments where it's really trying to convince you of a rebellious spark it just doesn't have. Like with the opening track, The American Dream Is Killing Me, which sounds like the band furthering this shtick where they're taking punk aesthetics and making it work in like kind of a Broadway context. It's less like a mosh pit and more like the good ship lollipop punk, cause the sound and performance is measured to say the least, even if the production comes across very loud. Furthermore, the lyrics on this track read less like taking America to task and more like old man yelling at cloud. America's not well, TikTok and taxes are these our most pressing problems. Plus, there are some serious lyrical misfires on this track, like this line over here. Like, given the larger context for the song, I get what Billy is saying with this bar, but why would you say it like this? Why would you put it this way? And somehow the record gets worse from here. We have One-Eyed Bastard, which is a major head-scratcher. What on God's green earth was the inspiration for this song? An Italian mob boss really focused on revenge? And then on the hook going bada bing, bada boom? And then with Corvette Summer, there is no amount of punk window dressing that is going to cover up the fact that this is just a trash garbaggio 80s cock rock anthem with macho riffs and a ton of cowbell. It just sounds like babes in bikinis and beers. Meanwhile, the lyrics, get around, I can get around, fuck it up on my rock and roll, drop a bomb on my rock and roll, yeah. God spare me. Then there are other songs on the album that maybe aren't quite as bad, but Green Day is very clearly sounding like a shell of their former selves. Strange Days Are Here to Stay, for example, has all the makings of a great Green Day classic on the intro, but then from there it just kind of goes into terrible pitch-corrected pop punk on the hooks. And Father to a Son goes into that very familiar, touching, personal acoustic ballad direction that Billie Joe has been known to write a handful of good hits in, giving us very wake me up when September ends vibes, especially with the familial themes going on in the song. But honestly, it hits with a fraction of the emotional impact. Plus, there's an oversimplicity and a lack of specificity that I think really exposes how much Billie has fallen off as a lyricist these days too. And as far as the title track is concerned, you couldn't get a song that is more at odds between its message and its sound. Because this is a track that has a request. It's an ask. It's looking for a savior, be that a social savior, a personal savior, or a savior of music, of rock. Have you seen one? Do you know one? Could they maybe perhaps come out with a great record that would top the charts? Because this one is not it. This song parades itself around as if it's giving us 2000s Against Me. We want a band that plays loud and hard every night. But we are not getting that. We are absolutely positively not getting that. This song is a prime example of just because something is loud does not mean it rocks. Then with the finishing track, we have a kind of cutesy, tongue-in-cheek, slightly zany tune that again sees Billie Joe playing himself up as crazy. And I do think there is something to the chord progression and melody on this track, if only it wasn't being lived out though through these tacky vocals and bricked out guitars. The lyrics play out a very fatalistic view of life, of the state of the world, of death. And the commentary in those lyrics either smacks as being surface level, you can't really glean much from it, there's not really much of a deep understanding there, or it feels like it makes no sense given Green Day's political and social stances historically. For example, the verse, watch the evening news cause it's my favorite cartoon, gonna join a cult, do a somersault, everyone's a victim, and it makes me want to puke. Which is an odd bar to pen given that Billie Joe loves to write about the American dream and how it's not real and the country's gone to shit. And we're all a victim of that, but simultaneously we're all suffering from this delusional victim mentality. You can't have both. And I suppose there is a charitable read of this track where maybe this song or that specific line is in character, it's satire, but Billie Joe doesn't seem to be in character for a majority of the song. There are also other tracks on the record where he's portraying himself as crazy in a genuine way. The issue is ultimately it's not really all that clear what the hell Billie is getting at, and that's really the problem that I have with a lot of Green Day's more political material. It's not that focused, it's not that pointed, it's not that poignant, and kind of mostly going off vibes. Because with Green Day being a punk-adjacent band, and punk being a rebellion-adjacent genre of music, the genre's reputation as such does a lot of the work for Green Day in terms of people inferring the band's politics and, assuming that the rebellion at the core of their stuff, there's a legitimacy to that. While, again, when you actually look at the content in the music, the meaning is very thin sometimes. But I'm digressing. Look, overall, again, this record, better than Father of All. Yeah, better, but not necessarily good. Very average, boring, unimaginative, basic, and bland record from Green Day at this point. I'm feeling a light to decent 3 on it. Transition. Have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Green Day, forever.